Ladies and gentlemen, gather round as we dissect the latest episode of How Low Can We Go, starring none other than the maestro of mayhem himself, President Trump. Buckle up, because this roller coaster of constitutional calamities is about to take you on a wild ride. First up, in a move that screams, "Who needs checks and balances?" Trump has flung open the doors of the Treasury's payment system to Elon Musk's merry band of tech titans. Because obviously, when you think responsible fiscal oversight, the first image that comes to mind is a billionaire's playground. What's next? Letting Jeff Bezos run the postal service? But wait, there's more! In his quest to redefine unilateral decisions, Trump has unilaterally banned birthright citizenship. That's right, folks. The 14th Amendment, just a pesky footnote in history. Who needs centuries-old constitutional provisions when you can rule by executive fiat? Not stopping there, our commander-in-chief has decided that money appropriated by Congress is merely a suggestion. Refusing to spend those funds, just another day in the Oval Office. After all, why let a little thing like the legislative branch dictate spending? And in a plot twist no one saw coming, except everyone, Trump has shuttered independent agencies like USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau without so much as a courtesy call to Congress. Because who needs oversight when you're the king? I mean president. But don't worry, he's got a plan to keep things running smoothly, replacing seasoned civil servants with political loyalists. Because nothing says efficient government like a workforce selected for their unwavering devotion rather than competence. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more dystopian, Trump has unleashed the military on civilians. Because deploying armed forces against your own people is always a hallmark of a thriving democracy. Now you'd think Republican lawmakers might have something to say about this, but no, they're too busy perfecting their ostrich impersonations. Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina even admitted that much of what Trump is doing runs afoul of the Constitution in the strictest sense. But his advice, nobody should bellyache about that. Translation, yes, it's unconstitutional, but could you all just, chill? As Trump continues his constitutional joyride, the federal courts have tried to step in as the voice of reason. But the Trump-Vance-Musk triumvirate has a different take. Vice President J.D. Vance declared that judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. Ah yes, because in their world, legitimate power means whatever we say goes. Take for example Trump's freeze on all federal spending. The Constitution clearly gives Congress the power of the purse, but Trump seems to think it's more of a suggestion. 2 federal judges have already halted this freeze, but Trump is treating their decisions like spam emails, ignored and deleted. In a particularly Orwellian move, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, announced that the freeze will continue even though the Office of Management and Budget has withdrawn the memo implementing it, because who needs consistency when you have confusion? Federal judges are starting to lose their patience. Judge John L. McConnell Jr. ordered the Trump administration to comply with his directive to release billions in federal grants, marking the first time a judge has explicitly stated that the White House is disobeying a judicial mandate. Judge Alicon reprimanded the OMB for disregarding her order, stating, "The court can think of few things more disingenuous." Well, Judge, welcome to the club. And let's not forget the executive order altering birthright citizenship. Judge John Coffenor blocked it, calling it clearly unconstitutional and noting that the rule of law is, according to him, something to navigate around or simply ignore. A scathing indictment, but will it matter? Meanwhile, several sanctuary cities and counties are challenging Trump's executive order, withdrawing federal funds from places that refuse to enforce his immigration agenda. The law is clearly on the plaintiff's side, but Trump isn't budging, because why let legality get in the way of a good power trip? Over the next few months, these and dozens of other cases will make their way to the Supreme Court. The big question: what happens if the Trump regime ignores the Supreme Court just as it has ignored lower courts? Chief Justice John Roberts has already expressed concern. noting that judicial independence is undermined unless the other branches are firm in their responsibility to enforce the court's decrees. He referenced past defiance of Supreme Court rulings, which required federal troops to enforce decisions. Are we heading down that path again? Vice President Vance seems to think so. He's on record suggesting that if the courts stop you, you should stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say, "The Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it." Because nothing says respect for the judiciary like a good old-fashioned taunt. In a 2024 interview, Vance argued that the president has to be able to run the government as he thinks he should. When pressed on whether the president must abide by legitimate Supreme Court rulings, Vance responded that if the Supreme Court made an illegitimate ruling, the president has to have the prerogative to run the military as he sees fit. Translation: we'll follow the rules we like and ignore the ones we don't. So, what if the Trump regime ignores the Supreme Court? Impeachment isn't an option, as Republicans control both chambers of Congress and have shown all the backbone of a chocolate eclair. If Trump simply ignores the high court, is that the end of law? Are we witnessing the unraveling of our constitutional democracy? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. We're in uncharted waters and the ship's captain seems intent on sailing us straight into a storm.